Mario and Wario have ever explored each other's bodies.
So, how do you follow up the majesty that was Super Mario World?
It's called reduction mammoplasty.
Released in 1992, Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, is a direct sequel to Super Mario Land, if you couldn't tell just by the title. While Satoru Okada didn't return for this game, Gunpei Yokoi did once again serve as producer, with 2 new directors whose names I'm a little afraid to try and pronounce. Apparently the team who worked on this game in the research and development department were a bit bitter about working on a game for a series made by the entertainment analysis and development department, so they decided to make the main villain a darker, evil version of Mario, with his name basically being a pun on Bad Mario.
And then they started a platformer series starring the Bad Mario. Life is weird that way.
So our story here is pretty simple. Wario has stolen Mario's castle. Go kill him, I guess. Yes, apparently Wario hypnotized the inhabitants of Mario's private island, Mario Land, in order to take over the castle and force them to obey him. And the only way to stop this is gather 6 special coins held by 6 different bosses. Why? Because video games require incredibly complicated locking mechanisms, I don't know. The only other really notable thing about the plot is that apparently Wario took over during the events of the first Mario Land, and the final boss from that game is now one of the bosses here. So, were they in league the whole time? I mean, maybe. In the Mario Land manual, Tatanga also apparently hypnotized people. Not that either of these plots really needed the whole hypnotism angle, they really aren't that complex.
So we're just gonna ignore that apparently Mario owns his own castle and island, and he has this whole time? Is Mario royalty? Is that why he keeps helping princesses and kings, because he wants to keep up a diplomatic relationship? Whatever, the plot's not really important for the game. If you want, you can just imagine Mario raiding a random island that's been using his image illegally. It'd be in character, at least.
Well, we hop in the game and, hey, first portable entry with a save system. That's always nice, and it makes sense since this game takes a number of cues from Mario World. Like, look at this Mario sprite and tell me it's not mainly based on the SNES game. The graphics in general are pretty solid, especially for the system, though there are occasionally issues with just how big everything is. Mario Land 1, yeah, you could fit hundreds of these sprites on the screen, no problem. Here, while screen crunch isn't as big an issue as it could have been, it's still definitely a concern. Luckily though, we do use the Mario 3 style of power tiers, where getting hit as Fire Mario just changes you to Super Mario.
Although, being Fire Mario has its own oddities. Look, I know they had to do something to make it clear what power-ups you had while in black and white, but I feel like the feather on the forehead is just kind of troublesome. But hey, who am I to comment? I mean, I'm not even sure who it's offensive towards. That's a lie, but it's easier than the truth.
Well, speaking of Fire Mario, the power-up from the first Mario Land, the Super Ball, has been cut, with the more traditional Fire Flower making its transition to the portable line. In addition, there's one new power-up along the lines of the Raccoon Leaf and the Cape Feather in the Carrot. That's its official name, it's just a carrot. It transforms Mario into Bunny Mario, which isn't amazing. Like the aforementioned power-ups, it lets Mario hover in the air, but that's all it does. No flying, no spinning attack, you can't even do the added spin jump while in bunny form. It just slows your descent if you hold the jump button, and slows it even more if you repeatedly tap the jump button. It's not terrible, I guess, but it's a serious step down from other power-ups. It's useful for platforming sometimes, but most of the time, I just prefer to be Fire Mario, racism or not.
I mean, obviously I'd prefer not.
So, after we complete our first level, the Mushroom Zone, the world opens up. This is actually a fairly unique structure, at least for a 2D Mario. Rather than having a linear order of worlds, some of which you can skip if you use secrets, once you finish the tutorial level, you can start with any of the 6 main worlds. You have to beat the boss in all 6 if you want to beat the final boss, of course, but otherwise, you have a lot more freedom than you would expect. This is definitely a great idea for a portable Mario game. Even without the save feature, this means it's super easy to replay your favorite level whenever you want. With the save feature, it's so easy that anyone who loves the game has no reason to not keep it with them at all times.
Well, maybe not all times. Don't bring it to, like, work. You might get distracted.
The world themes are also pretty cool. We have a giant world where you're the size of a bug exploring around a house, a journey into space after hopping a ride in a Hippo's bubble, a Halloween-themed Horrorland where the Goombas wear Jason masks, and we even have a level inside of Robot Mario's crotch. Yeah, I know it's supposed to be his stomach, but stomach bubbles aren't a real thing, and they knew what they were doing filling the level head to toe with balls.
Did they, though?
The levels are pretty decent too. Not my favorite in the series, I don't think they stack up to the best of Super Mario World, but they're still a very solid set of stages. It helps that, unlike pretty much any other Mario game, every single level takes place on a single map, with even the pipes just leading to a different area without a full transition. The only exceptions are the boss fights, which each have their own dedicated arenas. The bosses themselves, they're fine. Outside of Tatanga, they're all original to this game, and some of them are interesting, if occasionally mismatched. Like, why are the three little pigs the boss of the giant Mario mech? But hey, they aren't too hard, and most aren't too easy. It's all fine. Thinking of it, the same could be said of most of the levels. There are a couple pretty challenging levels, like the Star Stage, and finding the secret exits is so difficult I only found one in the whole game. However, for the most part, the game is pretty easy. Not a complaint, of course, it is a kid's game for Game Boy, just something that might turn off some players.
Not that any game is terribly difficult when you're playing on an official Nintendo emulator. The game is more than fun, to be sure, and I think it's definitely worth a playthrough for any Mario fan, but it's hard to say it's one of the best in the series. I enjoyed playing it more than Mario 3, but it's definitely a lot less substantial, and it's worth remembering I am terrible at video games. Overall, though, it gives a lot of hope for future 2D Mario games. Shame this was basically the last one.